Alrighty then. All right, welcome back to the channel. I am Kevin Simmons with Not Quite Nerdy, and this is my good friend Serdar Aydemir. And I admire him. All right, today we're talking about our favorite game of 2022 and pretty much going to win every single Best Game of the Year award, hands down. I don't think a single thing will come out to touch it. Elden Ring. If you haven't heard about it, get the hell out from under your rock. We're going to talk about the Seamless Co-op mod. To find it, it's on Nexus Mods. It's called Seamless Co-op, and it is created by Luke Yui, or Yui, Y-U-I. Massive shout out to that dude. If somehow he sees this, please, God, hit me in the comment. I want to talk to you. I'd like to get you on the podcast. That'd be epic. It's fantastic. We're no stranger to Elden Ring. First playthrough, 200 and what hours?
I think I hit just it was like 201 or something like that.
And I was like 186 my first playthrough.
First because, go through everything.
98% complete.
Yeah.
Like I missed a couple of things, basically did everything in the game, about 200 hours. The game's phenomenal. If you haven't played it, seriously go buy it. I don't even give a shit if it's full price. You're not going to get that many hours of true exploration and enjoyment out of another game, except maybe Breath of the Wild, maybe The Witcher, and even that I played 150 hours, and that was with 2 DLCs. The game's incredible.
This is someone that's never played a FromSoft game before. From Software is the developer of it, who made the Dark Souls series, Demon Souls series, and Sekiro. He's never played anything from that.
That is true.
Where I have played all 3 of the Dark Souls games. So for him to say something like that speaks a lot.
Yeah, we're coming from both sides. Most of the time we're coming technically from 2 different sides of everything. I never played any FromSoft game.
Right.
Very good point.
And the fact that he put in...
I've owned all of them.
Well, now we're at like 300 plus hours on it, but...
Yeah, we are, dude. That shit is wild.
Yeah.
So if you've never played a FromSoft game, let's start with that. This is the one to start with, because traditionally you would get stuck on a boss or something and that was it. It was a linear game. Like you're just going to go play something else until you're not angry anymore. Whereas this is an open world game. So like Assassin's Creed, The Witcher, anything else, you can kind of cut and run, tuck your tail and go disappear and come back later when you've leveled up enough. But yeah, it was a phenomenal experience. I didn't know that I would like it that much. I'll say this about this game for anybody that hasn't played a FromSoft game. All of the reasons that these crazy people, sadists or masochists is the one you don't like?
Probably,
you hate yourself? These masochists, all of the things that they say are like features of the game and why it's so good are literally old things that don't exist in games anymore.
Yeah.
Like in any new game, you're not waiting for the last button you pushed to finish happening before you can push the next button. So it's like super frustrating, but I will say to their credit, you end up feeling more rewarded when you finally get it. Cause you're like, fuck that guy, fuck you. God. But anyway, so the point, we don't need to harp on how good the game's incredible. You should play it. But for people who want to play a seamless experience beginning to end with their friends, this co-op the mod is incredible.
Yeah.
It basically eliminates all the kind of weird stuff. So if you haven't played the game and you're on the fence or you've read anything about how the co-op works, you basically have like false walls everywhere in the game.
Well, it's like
they're different zones. It's zone based.
Right. But a lot of people expect the multiplayer in this to be what a normal multiplayer would be. So like on Elden Ring, it's basically in order to play with anyone online or a friend that you want to play through the game on, you put down what's called a summon sign, and then the other person in their game will see the summon sign that you put down and then summon you into their game as a phantom, and there's limitations to it. If you have cleared the boss of that zone, you can't bring anyone in again. So
it's broken up into multiple zones. Yeah. Every zone, you can only summon someone in to help you, quote unquote. Meaning if they haven't beaten that, you can beat it together and then you can no longer summon each other into the zone. So what ends up happening is it's very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like parsed out. It's very intermittent. It's
Right.
not seamless in any way, hence the name Seamless Co-op. So the co-op, well, we'll get into how it did make gameplay easier. It wasn't supposed to.
Right, yeah.
But it's not like an easy mode, but what it will do is it'll let you two stay together the whole time. So the big thing in it that most people were pissed off about is that you can't summon your horse. I get it. But I mean,
Right.
if you're playing together,
like there's logic behind, at least for me, that I see the logic behind how the normal multiplayer works in Elden Ring.
yeah, there is logic. I'm not saying that it doesn't make
But
sense, but
it's
for you to have it be the way it is in 2022 when we've reached a point with latency and
Right.
internet and all these things that make playing games together more seamless than they've ever been. For a game company to be like, nah, we're going to keep it the way it was in 1990. Like, it's frustrating for some people. So this kind of fixes that. So the first thing we should talk about is how easy it was to install.
incredible.
Would we drag and drop
it's
it?
not even modding the game. And this is on a PC platform, of course.
Yeah, only on PC.
So you basically you're on the Nexus Mods on his page over there. Just you download it. It's a little tiny little 160 KB zip file or something.
Yeah, tiny.
Unzip the files and it tells you right there. You just drop it in to the game folder. And you have a separate executable, which is fantastic because you're not going to launch it through the play button on Steam or whatever it is.
Yeah, so it's like having a separate launcher that you can put. And the cool thing is Windows will let you put it in your taskbar or in the start menu, so you can just go straight to it and launch it.
And that's it. And to play with someone specific, like we play with each other, and it tells you the easiest, simplest little instructions. You just go into the text file of the mod in your game folder and you type a password in and you save that text file on both ends.
And it's literally as easy as he just said. And there's instructions. You open a little notepad file and it says, click on this file.
Yeah.
And then type on this line and you're done. That's it. And that launcher works every time.
And it just works.
Yeah. Fantastic. So let's see. Our experience playing together glitch wise.
Well, not just before we get into that, but going to the whole launching the game thing is think of it as it launching a separate instance of the Elden Ring game, because
it's a totally separate
you have a
state.
completely different save files. It's not touching your original online, because you're not really on their servers when you do this, which is fantastic.
Yeah, so you're not on their servers. It's actually P2P.
Yeah, it's not messing up your original player that you've been playing from when the game was released or anything like that.
Yeah, you don't lose your original character. It doesn't mess with the original character. You could technically be playing with this. We could be playing with the same person in our original game.
Right.
And then we could be like, I'm sick of this, and we can load right into the other instance to the other game.
But yes,
it's cool.
Quite a few glitches, which it's expected,
What I was expecting from what I know of modding a game, it was almost no glitches. Like when I hear modding a game, and typically I think of a Skyrim or something where you're changing it so the boobs jiggle right, and you're changing it so the trees look better, and like people go insane with those. And the thing about modding on that level is you're going into this folder, and then this file's got to be below, and that one's got to be above, and you got to, and every time you load it, it breaks the game, and then you got to go back through and make sure they're in the right order. So that's what I was expecting. This is my first time ever modding a PC game.
Yeah.
I dragged some shit into another shit, one folder into another folder, and then I typed a password, and then that's it. So physically launching it works great. Physically using it works great. The glitches that we ran into were like some save stuff being linked between the two of us. There was desyncing between our games.
Well, there'd be like the save stuff would be like, for example, you do have like a host to an extent. So for example, he'd be like, let's call Kevin's game the host game, and then he brings me into his game, into the co-op session, and it's like I'm playing my own Elden Ring.
Yeah, we're basically
game.
It's like we're both it's both of our games,
Right.
but we're playing at the same time, and the saves should save and share.
The one problem on that would be my main gripe, which doesn't really affect it too much, but if there's certain things you want to do, it does, is if there's any progress on storylines of NPCs and things like that, that's only on his
Yeah, some of it though.
game,
Some of it would
essentially.
be in both, and some of it wouldn't, and it was very inconsistent.
Yeah.
So I would say,
And some of those stuff with the NPC interactions would only work if we were in separate. So sometimes an
Mhm.
NPC, you have to just bail out of each other's games and then go into your own in order to interact with a certain NPC.
true.
And like, let's say,
Which
for
wasn't
example,
horrible.
Ronnie in the very beginning,
Yeah.
which doesn't matter because you get the summoning bell. There's no
Mhm.
point in having it, but still, if you're a completionist like us,
Yeah.
and then do that interaction and then jump back into each other's games.
Yeah, I'll say the load times are definitely longer too, so it feels a little bit more frustrating.
Well,
at
the
first.
host,
Yeah, whoever's
is
not the
normal.
host,
That's
yeah.
normal lord
But yeah,
times.
whoever's loading into the other
Yeah.
person's game. But it wasn't bad though.
No, it's not terrible. It doesn't like ruin the experience.
So like I would say that if you're looking to do this, play the whole playthrough with the same
yes.
person. So
Well, I would say before doing the seamless co-op, play the normal game first.
well, they should definitely do that. I'm
Yeah.
assuming anybody that's watching this has already played the game and is probably
Right.
curious about it. If you haven't, play the real game. It's awesome. But this is a faster way to get through the whole game because we technically, when we played through the first playthrough, we did everything twice.
Right.
Almost everything. You go do it in my
basically-
game,
yeah.
then we'd load out.
Yeah.
Then we'd go do it in his game. Then we'd load back into my game, move to the next area. And like, it's cool. We got way more XP. We got way more runes is what it's called in the game. If you haven't played it, we got way more runes, which meant we got to level up faster. But like when you're a completionist, there's so many things and so many of them are so hard to beat that
Right.
it didn't really feel like we were over leveling or like really
Yeah.
getting leveled up to a point where it was, there was an advantage. But I would say if you're going to play this co-op thing, pick a friend and play the whole thing together.
Right.
Go
From
play
the
your regular
beginning,
game. If
yeah.
he's at work on Tuesday and you're not, don't play the same seamless
Right.
co-op without him. Because what ends up happening is all these little nuanced kind of situations where his NPC didn't sync, but mine did, meant that we could, if we're in my game, we could continue the whole story. It didn't
Right.
matter. You could get into the next zone. You could get to the
Right,
next save
exactly.
point. So it wasn't like a hindrance, but it was definitely not like, it wasn't like rock on, rock solid, perfect performance.
Yeah.
The desync, we can talk about
Right.
the desync glitches. So, and this is what would cause some of these syncs to happen. If I interact with an NPC, but he was in a save state or leveling up in I call them bonfires. What do we call them in Elden Ring?
What were they called?
I don't remember, dude.
Site of Grace.
Site of Grace.
Sita la Gracia.
Your basic, and they were called bonfires in the Souls games,
Right,
just
yeah.
like in Tomb Raider and every other game like it, but whatever.
Yeah.
So if he was in, like, if we were desynced in what we were physically had interacted with, that's usually when an NPC interaction would disappear. And what's funny about it is that NPC would just disappear from that part of the map
Right,
when we were in the
yeah.
game together.
Yeah.
So the desyncing, and this is what would cause some of these issues, I think, would happen if one of us died and the other didn't. And what's funny about it is it would like load half of the map for one of us and it'd load half of the map for the other. And one of us could see the other person's character running in circles and rolling and fighting in place, but in my version of the map.
Right.
And I loaded into a different part of the map,
Yeah.
which was super entertaining.
Yeah.
Some of the time, super frustrating the rest of the time.
Yeah, and then there's some parts where it doesn't happen a lot, but here and there where, which is cool because you can both ride Torrent, which is your mount to get around the
Best
whole
part,
open world.
hands down.
And sometimes, one person is riding an invisible mount and just giddy upping, just
Or
in thin air.
totally invisible.
Yeah.
You couldn't see me on a whole section of the map.
Sometimes didn't even see him at
We were
all.
riding next to each
I'm
other.
like, where
I
did
could
you
see
go?
him.
I'm right next to you, dude.
Yeah.
You are not here.
Yeah, and honestly, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
I'd be like, all right, you lead the way. I'll follow you.
That was stupid, but the invisible horse was funny.
Well, what about the scooting around? The character would be running in front of you with
just-
stiff legs, like just sliding across. There were
those things. It's like
it was entertaining, and it wasn't like constant, and it wasn't really. Even the game breaking bugs weren't like truly game breaking. It wasn't anything that you couldn't load out of the game and load back in. We're talking 10 seconds.
Yeah.
15 seconds. We're back in the game. No big deal. We did have a lot of weird connection things, and it has everything to do with, I'm sure, us living 1,000 miles apart. There's latency, added latency. It's not like we live down the street. It's not using a server. So his internet's connected to my internet. If my router or my wife's in the other room, turns on her phone, scrolls TikTok, turns on, loads a 4K movie. Like, there's dips and there's bandwidth. The time of day could matter. I think most of our real connection errors were that weird 3 weeks where my router just kept turning off for some reason. But yeah, I mean,
as a whole, in general, though, the network connection and doing the co-op together, as a whole, it worked very well.
Yeah, it's like
it's
like
very impressive that how what was his how he made the mod where you type a password in this text file, and then we're just playing together.
Luke Huey.
Yeah, like it worked very, very well.
It's like if you expect modding to be glitchy, this was nothing.
Right.
It felt like absolutely nothing. And I'll be honest, we had enough issues.
It's very impressive.
We had enough like server issues and being invaded by that's another big selling point for this. You're not constantly being invaded. Nobody goes into your game that you're not expecting.
Online onto the Elden Ring FromSoft servers, so there's no invasion aspect of it, which, I personally love that aspect. I like that multiplayer PvPing aspect. It's unexpected. You're playing together with a friend, you get invaded. Now you gotta now there's a whole new side mission right here in front of us to try to get rid of this guy. This fight for survival. It's fantastic. I love that aspect. But with the seamless co-op mod, that does not exist at all.
And also that had its pros and cons. There are times where you get deep into a game and you haven't been invaded, and it's really hard and it's new and you're immersed in the story and where you're at, and then somebody comes in and fucking murders you. Yeah. And it's just the most frustrating. But
another thing to that is you can't summon people online to help you with a boss or this and that. It's just you and whoever you're co-oping with.
True.
So if you have like a group of like 3-4 friends, I forgot how many was the limit? 4 people,
I think 4. And I think that the way the scaling works, it's probably going to be the easiest with 4 people.
And and it scales just like how it normally would with the normal online aspect of the game itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, going into like the bugs and glitches and talking about bosses, there's been some interesting moments there with this mod.
Yeah, so I would say that this game, and you see a lot of comments in it and on Reddit and stuff, isn't it just make it easy mode? No, it doesn't make it easy mode. It just makes it easier to load into a game and help somebody. The horse made it easier to get across the map together.
That aspect itself, and how you were talking about with the fog walls. Yeah. There's no fog walls.
Yeah, like a lot of the little annoyances.
Zones. You just go wherever. And when you're going to fast travel, it's basically like it's a voting system. So if there's multiple people in there, you select the really cool site of grace, and it's like,
I thought that was really cool. It tells you, hey, this guy wants to go there, and then this guy voted to go there, and then whoever the third person is, literally gets to make or break the decision. Yeah. You know what it made it feel like? It made it feel more like Borderlands.
Right. Yeah.
It felt a little more like a Borderlands where somebody goes and the other person can cancel the fast travel if they don't like it. So rolling into bosses.
Yeah.
This is where it did accidentally turn into easy mode.
Yeah. Sometimes it definitely made a big difference.
Almost every boss, if the true host, so if he was in my game, if I died first, which happened often, the boss would freeze.
Yeah. They would just
de-aggro
because the main player is gone.
Yeah, and that's probably something that maybe, I don't even know. I'm assuming he knows, or maybe he doesn't.
Maybe
he might not know. Maybe nobody told him.
Yeah.
Because it's a feature, not a glitch. They're like, I'm not going to tell him. I don't want him to patch that out.
Maybe there's no way to.
So who knows? Maybe. Yeah, and that may be a thing, right? The bosses,
it's
like
just
if that
something
mod
to do with the game's coding.
Yeah, if that mod doesn't mess with the coding for loading 2 people into a boss. Yeah. I mean, the game is made for 2 people to be in a boss or 3 people or whatever, right? So maybe, and it may have just been ours, or maybe, through updates or whatever that may have already been changed. But
it just glitch out and just
the boss glitches out and you just shoot an arrow at them for 5 minutes until they die or whatever.
You got spells and you just spam your spell and just take them down. So and they just stand there and just kind of like turn in place. And then, sometimes you get a little too close. They might aggro on you, but then you just keep a little distance to them, and then they like de-aggro, and they're just stuck in place again.
So it made Melania a lot easier.
Melania, Godfrey. Godfrey had an interesting glitch where, so we tried it several times, and he would go into the phase 2, and when the host was dead, and then the phase 2, where he turns into what's his name, something Lou, because he's Nefeli.
Nefeli Lou's dad,
and then he like starts running at you all raged, and then he would fall through the map.
Yeah, there were a lot more falling through the map issues than I ever thought there would be.
Yeah, and especially with
Elden Beast or Radagon, dude. We got to Radagon.
Yeah,
he fell through the map.
Elden Beast, basically, it's when we finished the game.
No. But I'm saying before we even got to him, and again recently.
Oh yeah.
If one of us died first, he would drop below the map.
Yeah.
And then you would just be stuck in there by yourself.
Yeah.
You couldn't fight him. He couldn't fight you. You could hear him.
Yeah.
It showed him on the map. He was below you.
Or when we killed Elden Beast, and then we finished the game, and then it loaded us somewhere where the map wasn't loaded.
Well, what happened?
And our reward was 1,000,000 runes, so we had 1,000,000 runes in our bank account right there. And then we're like, okay, there's no floor.
No, hang on. What happened before that is I died. And he had to it glitched out. And he finished the Elden Beast, and so it brought me into endgame.
Yeah.
And when we were in endgame, my money was below me.
Right.
So on the map, I could run right up onto it, and it was below me, and it was below me. So I couldn't even get my money. So I lost like 500,000 runes right there.
Yeah.
Then we did the ending, and the ending loaded us into a totally separate part of the map where we were like between levels.
Yeah.
And then we walked like 1 foot forward and then fell to our death. And died. Lost whole all the million runes that it had just given us for endgame. So I think most of them are kind of hilarious. It wasn't super frustrating.
And then there's the one where since he was like the host, I would join into his game. Sometimes we would fast travel somewhere.
Oh yeah.
And then I would load in because the person that's joining the game was their load times are longer. So he pops in, and then I load in, I pop in, and it goes, great, enemy felled, or enemy felled with the thing, and then I would get like, oh, I just got 80,000 runes, and I go, and great, enemy fell. Oh, I just got another 60,000 runes.
Yeah, this guy basically ended up like 6 levels ahead of me in the first 30 hours of the game, and I had to go power level my way back up rune farm.
It just several times. It
was a lot of times.
Recently, we did the other way around, where you were joining my game through the playthrough on the New Game Plus 3 or whatever it was we were doing, and then it happened to him. So it's obviously someone. It's the joiner.
And we're obviously experts at this point on this co-op because we've literally played it 3 full times now.
Yeah,
I would definitely recommend, dude, do the co-op, do it with a friend or two. Make sure you guys play it together consistently. And start a brand new character and pick some random shit, because the beginning of the game will be easier. It will feel like it's easier in the beginning. It's not as bang your head against the wall as much as it was in the original game the first time I played.
And it definitely helps too if like when you play the normal game all the way through, because like you're more familiar with it, obviously. So when you start from the beginning with someone like
that's what made it
on
fun.
The seamless co-op,
I think that's what made it fun. Is we kind of knew what we were doing. We've been everywhere.
You're a little more familiar with it.
This is the way you want to play. This is the way you want to play if you want to try out other builds.
Yeah, especially
it's more fun to try out other builds and hear with someone. I will say though, because the scaling's like 1.5 times, I think, on all enemies across the board. That first playthrough, even the second playthrough, if you're both the same build, that's when it was like super powerful.
Yeah.
We both did a crazy ass mage build, same spells, same almost everything. And it was absolutely a blast. We burned through the whole second playthrough in like under 80 hours.
I think so, yeah.
And I think we're at 180 hours. We did less and less things each time.
Of course.
Because we had all the gear. Obviously you're not constantly,
you're not going to go through and get all the talismans. You're not going to go.
But we're 180 hours on the second, second, third, and fourth playthrough.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's rad.
Quite a few glitches and stuff, but still definitely worth it. Lot of fun if you have a close friend that you want to play through the whole game with, and like he was saying, you want to stick to that. And if you're gonna
Yeah, you'll end up doing. Somebody's gonna end up doing shit twice. Like,
Yeah.
If you don't play it together the whole way through, somebody's gonna end up doing shit twice. And there were a couple of times where I went and got a thing or found something. He played one day without me and found some stuff, and then we went and got it again in my game. But yeah, that's pretty cool, man. So, anything else we should talk about it?
I feel like we covered the important parts.
I think it's badass, man. Kudos to Luke. Yeah, I think it was Luke.
Yui?
Yeah, Luke Yui.
I don't know.
Yeah, kudos to him, dude. Nexus Mods. I'll go find it and just put the link in the description of this video. It's super cool, man. Super cool.
Yeah, super cool, man.
Super cool, man. Here's a picture of you from my bed. I don't deserve it.
Here's a picture back. I don't deserve it.
That's it, man. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you. Hit us up in the comments. Ask any questions you want. Absolutely. I'm always down there. I'm always answering questions. I love when you guys comment, like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all the things, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.